Oh yeah.
All right. All right. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us for the discussion of put it put the helmet on engineering safety helmets. This is part of my STEM out of school time program, Club KEMET's our weekly summer camps. Each week we do a different topic relating to engineering and STEM. This week we're talking about engineering safety helmets and how to protect athletes and those that are sports driven for any kind of injuries. So I always try to give the kids some type of real world experience. So this is where that this kind of is birthed from. So I asked you guys to join us for this conversation. All of you guys have some valuable experience, life experiences that is instrumental in this conversation. A lot of times when people think about athletics, they only think about being the football player, the baseball, the player. But then outside of athletics, outside of playing and being the athlete, there are so many other options for people to be, like being a coach, being the engineer that designs and build the actual protection gear, for actually being a counselor, from being an athletic trainer. And so I want to give students an opportunity to hear about football, protecting students um, from injuries and those different fields, and how you guys kind of help with that. All right, so my name is Mariam Harley. I am the owner of Club KEMET. And these are the conversations that we can't leave on the field. So I want to start with you guys and let you guys introduce yourselves and tell us about who you are, what you work, and how you plan on contributing to this conversation. And we'll start with you, Alec.
Okay. All right. I am Alex Hawkins. I am the head athletic trainer, sports medicine director for Duncanville ISD here in Duncanville, Texas. Um, so, if you don't know anything about Duncanville, we are a one high school town in southwest Dallas County. I have approximately about 2,500 athletes under my care, and that's going from the seventh grade all the way up to the 12th grade. Here, just at the high school, we have about 4,600 students um, that we, have to basically care for. But I'm really focused on those 2,400 athletes, those seventh graders to the 12th graders. So my whole deal is as a certified licensed athletic trainer, we deal with the care, aid, prevention of athletic injuries. Work experience, I've been here at Duncanville for 20 years, off and on. And I was the head athletic trainer at Southern University for 6.5, 7 years. I'm a proud alumni of Southern University, just inducted into the Southern University Hall of Fame for athletics this past November, and a proud graduate of Glen Oaks High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And that's me in a nutshell.
All right. All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for joining us. All right. So, Simon, John.
Yes, ma'am. Alex, what year did you graduate from Glen Oaks?
92, best year.
Okay, that was the best year. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm born and raised in Glen Oaks as well, man, off Civil League.
Okay.
I'm Rhonda's little brother.
He run his little brother. Okay, I'm looking at. I said, I know this face, man. I know this dude. I said,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. That's what's up,
Yeah.
man.
Good to meet you. What's happening?
Yeah. Everything good, man. So my name is John Simon, originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana as well. High school Southern Lab in Baton Rouge. I'm a retired NFL football player, former college football coach on the Division I level, coach at Arizona State, Southern Miss, Memphis, and most recently Grambling. And now I just took a head job at Huntington High School in Shreveport. I'm also a father of two D1 players. I have a son that's a freshman at Louisiana Tech, playing receiver, and I have my baby boy that's a running back at the University of Texas. So my contribution today is as a parent of these kids that are playing the sport, and what's the age and the stage I feel as it relates to their safety and playing tackle football. and then also high school kids, and how, my vision and preparation of how I plan to keep them safe in a world of concussions and CTE.
All right, thank you, John. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we were supposed to have Gabe Northern on. Gabe, in true fashion with his CTE. So when I initially asked him about this, and he told me I could tell you guys this. So when I initially asked him about this, one of the things that Gabe kept telling me was like, you got to keep reminding me. And it was like, okay, I'm going to email you, text you, you'll have the information. And then so I had to stay on the phone with him to write it in his calendar. All right, I end up changing the date about a month ago. And so when I changed the date, even though I told him, I didn't stay on the phone with him to make sure he changed it in his calendar. And I have talked to him several times since I've changed the date. And so he was, so like that's like one of the things, like, like that memory loss, that hard to keep track of things. So Gabe ended up throwing me a Hail Mary, and he ended up having his friend Markeith join us. Markeith, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and tell how you're contributing to this conversation.
Thank you, Mariam. I really appreciate it. Name's Markeith Spears, and looking like we all are from the Baton Rouge area. I'm from Zachary, Louisiana. I went to Northeast High School, graduated in 1995, when they went on to play linebacker for LSU from 95 to 99. And my contribution is, being a guy who, after my college career was over, I had to have reconstructive facial surgery from all of my helmet coming down and busting my nose 200 times when I was playing ball. And so, when Mariam asked me about the whole CTE thing, I'm like, I never played in the NFL. I've been around all the guys who, most of the times they have to come to
Tanya's my niece.
do all of the medical testing. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, Tanya's my niece.
around a lot of them to understand what they're dealing with, what they're going through.
Here, all in them.
Basically just, and it's good to see that we have guys that are, that are in this.
They from Oscar, bro.
Teach people how to actively do things the right way. With the technology that they have, equipment is getting a lot better, which we need it because athletes are getting.
Older brother named June.
That's my
June with the prison.
Doing things more safely.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Markeith. Thank you for the last minute. Thank you so much for coming in and joining. All right. And last but not least is James Ross. He is our counselor to talk about different behavioral issues and sports psychology. James, you want to?
Yes.
You want to? Okay.
Yes. Good morning to everyone. My name is James Ross. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, board approved clinical supervisor, and I work with adolescents, youth, and adults in trauma work, all different types of therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, and I'm a proud graduate of the Grambling State University, where I obtained my master's of social work, and then also I'm alumni of Northeast Louisiana University, now as ULM, and I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I'm just here to provide some insight on the CTE and the
I live on Yorktown. Right, James.
CTE involving mental health.
All right. Thank you, James. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So, guys, to start the conversation off, there are over 1 million kids that are playing high school football in the United States. A lot of them will end up having significant injuries. Only a small percentage of that, less than 1% of those students that are playing football, that's playing at high school football, will make it to the NFL. Is playing football worth it with the risk of injuries? And anyone can hop in and talk. Anyone can talk. So is it worth playing football?
I think it is, and I'm just speaking of my situation is, coming from a situation to where, we didn't have a whole lot of money, and, and so, And and believe it or not, everybody on this call, football is fun. I mean, it's they're making it look like it's a terrible thing, but anyone who's had success in football is fun. I mean, it gives you. I hadn't got. I think it's worth it. It allows kids to have other opportunities. I mean, like myself, I graduated #5 in my class, so I could have got an academic scholarship, but I wanted to play sports. So I knew that sports provided an opportunity for me to be.
So, and as a fan of sports, okay. So yeah, so if you're not speaking, like if you could just mute me when you're not speaking. All right. So as a fan of football, you guys are like the gladiators. You guys go out there, you're putting on a show. It is the best, like just to watch it and to see just the football and the pure athleticism. I was saying, like, hey, you guys are like gods on earth. Um, but you're not gods and you do get hurt. Markeith, can you kind of talk about like some of your football injuries when you were playing? What was it like for you to play at LSU?
So for me, I mean, it was and I got blessed where I didn't have like shoulder injuries or knee injuries or torn ACLs or none of stuff like that. But the one injury that I just kept having over and over was my helmet would come down and basically break my nose each time. And I would have to get stitches each time. I mean, I remember we were playing against Georgia in one year, and I had to go in the halftime and get stitches, and then I had to go in again after the game to get stitches. So it's just, so it's two things. I think a lot of times I didn't have a lot of the other injuries because I learned I played for a guy named Grover Perkins. I mean, John probably know who Grover Perkins is. He's from Southern Lab, and so Grover taught me like everything technique wise the right way, and that's what if you ask John and Alex and all those guys that, and if you go watch Duncansville, those team play, they are technicians. They do everything the right way, and because now these kids are bigger, stronger, faster than they've ever been. I mean, hell, Duncanville looked like Florida State out there, and so and one of my friends, he's the offensive coordinator at Duncanville. Coach Souls. His wife used to work with me at in real estate. But so it's twofold. It's being taught it the right way, and then also understanding that there are going to be some risks that you're going to have. But I do think now the game is probably becoming more safer than it's ever been because with the equipment and helmets now, or they have I don't know if they have technology in high school yet, but now in the NFL they have computer chips in the helmet to monitor the impact and the different things, and then now the referees are looking for anyone that shows signs of having a concussion. But that didn't happen when we were playing. I mean, hell, if you got a concussion back when we were playing, you didn't know about it until the next day. And most times. So I think the game is becoming a lot more safer, as it moves forward.
I'm a
So let's
kind
talk.
of go far.
So like let's talk about how football has changed like through the years and like when we look at like the 70s and the 80s and like there was like a lot of harder hits, a lot of harder tackles. How has the game changed when just from when you guys were playing to now? Because there's a lot of different rules.
One of the things that's happening now is how we manage concussions. Here in the state of Texas, if an athlete, and I believe what's happening is the state of Texas is kind of taking on the universal, meaning the NCAA, the United States Olympic Committee, all the major operating commissions. But here in the state of Texas, we have the UIL, University Interscholastic League. And what the UIL has done is they made it mandatory, made it state law that if an athlete suffers from a concussion, then they have to be, show zero symptoms. They have to go through a return to play protocol. They have to spend as much time not showing symptoms as they were showing symptoms before they can return to play. That's the phrase that we use here in the state of Texas is return to play. So before we allow them to return to play, is they have to go through a stringent protocol, or a stringent return to play process to make sure that they're not showing any signs and symptoms, to make sure there's no residual, no incident of second impact syndrome, or nothing that's going to hinder that child when they do, return to play, as opposed to when I first started athletic training, when I was a student athletic trainer, at Southern in the 90s, you know, you get a concussion or you get your bell rung, terms that we used back then. You set out 15 minutes, and if you felt better after 15 minutes, you went back to play, and all you had to do, coach, was like, "Yeah, coach, I feel better." And you might be dying inside, you might be dizzy, you might be showing all kind of signs and symptoms of a concussion, but for the sake of going back in, you would go back in to play. And hey, Gabe's not here because I graduated high school with Gabe, and I could probably be firsthand witness on seeing Gabe go back in the game probably after suffering a concussion.
Yeah. So and I'll piggyback on some of the things that you mentioned, right? Just the culture of the game when we played was completely different. So I don't even think concussion was even invented at that time. Alex used the term bell rung, right? It was, you got your bell rung, you know what I'm saying? And that was part of the game. And you set out till you decided that, all right, I'm good. And you went back out there and you played that way. The old game was to play through your pain, to play through your injuries. I mean, we glorified the old NFL and showing the footage of guys all wrapped up and taped up, and Emmitt Smith with a dislocated shoulder, right, still playing in the game. So I saw the other day, actually, someone tweeted and was just talking about the culture of the game, the mentality of the game, that the old guys, the old generation of what we had. And as to glorify it, but it really shouldn't be glorified. When you look back on it, Spears going out there breaking his nose over and over and needing facial reconstruction. And if he went to LSU probably today, no way he could probably get in the game for free, right? So the sacrifices that we made for a game, that in that time we were programmed to believe that was a warrior's game. I commend this new generation because that's not what the game is for. It is a game, and it's a game that we want these kids to understand that they're playing, but they're playing for the pure enjoyment. And if you have the talent to go to the next level, you're playing to make as much money as you can to put yourself in a position to take care of your family, and that's it. But the original the reason that you play is because of the love and the joy of the game. But we should never be putting ourselves at a risk of long-term injury to play this sport that will never love you back the way that you would love this game. So the times have definitely changed, but I know I've played with a concussion. um, and when I played the state championship game, I had a concussion. They actually stopped the game because the other kid broke his collarbone, and I was on the sideline and I started crying. My dad had passed, so I had those emotional things that I was going through on the sideline. And I told him, I'm like, I can't go back on offense, but I can go back on defense. And so I'll never forget, I went out there and I was making a call to like the other guy, and I was waving my arm, like getting his attention. And it was like I was seeing double. I started looking at my hand. I was like, man, I am messed up, you know? And I didn't realize till years later that that was a concussion that I had, because no one stopped, no one came over to talk to me, assess me. Like I was messed up. Like it was a very, very violent hit to where the other kid broke. We both laid out on the field, and they came out and they drugged me off, but the ambulance took him. So the game was stopped for like 15, 20 minutes, which allowed me to come back a little bit. But yeah, concussions wasn't a thing back in our day. It was just getting your bell rang.
I mean, it's funny you say that, John. I remember, now I know it's a concussion, but man, I remember, when you play middle linebacker, man, you go through stretches where you make tackle on first down, you make tackle on second down, you make the tackle on third down, and if they 3 consecutive big hits in a row, it's like, man, So I remember coming back to the huddle and I'm trying to call the defense. I'm looking over, and it's blurry. And then I noticed my speech was slurred, and they were like, "Man, what the hell are you saying?" And I didn't know what it was. I just figured maybe I was tired. I'm like, but now it's we had those concussions. That's one of the symptoms is slurred speech and all that stuff. So it's good now that we have things. I mean, especially guys like Alec that's been around it, and now he's in charge of it.
Right.
And
Right.
they're actually spending money on this stuff now. I mean, they're actually paying athletic trainers decent salaries at LSU and all these places. I mean, they're making pretty much what some of these coaches are making now because they realize how important it is. So I think it's going to get better, but it's still going to take a whole lot of effort to trickle it down to everybody.
So how you guys talked about like that glory and being glorified, and you want to get back into the game, even though you were hurt. If you can talk on just the psychology of an athlete, how is it that coaches can help um, calm that spirit of the athlete, and for them to, I guess, so that they are not feeling that they're not contributing to the game. What are some of the things that coaches can be on the lookout for when it's psychologically dealing with a player that have sport injuries?
Well, what I think one of the most important things, in my opinion, is monitoring the athlete's mood. There's a lot of fluctuation in mood, um, particularly depression. Is the one of the major culprits. Depression. You can't perform at your highest level, or you cannot participate and get out there and battle with your brothers or your teammates, and just actually just address the athlete's mood, ask them how they're feeling. It's a lot of And then also there's it's a lot of impulsive behavior as well, from the CTE as well, just being impulsive and being violent and rageous and stuff like that. So just I would constantly check in with the athletes as well, and then do some other type of mindful activities, some stress reduction, some meditation. All that stuff works. It helps you calm your mind and be at peace as well, and reduce that stress.
All right. And CTE cannot be really truly diagnosed until a person passes and they look at their brain scan. And so these are just like people who have noticed like their behavior changing, their moods changing, their cognitive functioning is decreasing at a more rapid rate than the normal population. So can you talk about what are some of the other signs of of concussions and the CTE? How do you guys spot a concussion?
Well, what we do here is
Well, I'm gonna
oh
start out. Me
yeah, go ahead.
personally, me personally, I play I play I played football in high school for Seaburg, Clifton Ellisburg High School, Seaburg High School. We played Glen Oaks and a lot of the particular schools that you guys went to as well. And even myself, I sustained a concussion. And back in the days, they used to call it a stinger. Uh, oh, you just got a stinger, just walk it off and shake it off and get back in. But and just addressing it, and just allowing that player some time off, and just to reflect and be able to just take just take the play off, take the time off, because if you continue to get out there, you're not going to do anything but exacerbate that concussion and make it worse. Uh, and what you're doing, these young athletes, the damage that they're inflicting on each other, it ain't going to do anything but perpetuate as they get older.
And I think too, James, that you say that. I mean, it's when you're an athlete, you go through a emotion. You go through, because most people don't realize what it takes to become a starter on the field. How much competition you compete with, and at a school like Duncanville, I mean, you probably not gonna play a whole lot as a freshman or sophomore because they loaded. They got 5,000 kids at the school, and if you do play as a freshman or sophomore, if something happens, you're going to want to get back on the field as fast as possible, because you never know when that next guy gets in there and run for 230 yards, and then now you sharing time. So it's a lot of pressure on these kids, to perform. And the thing that I like now is that, we have coaches that understand, okay, what is their mental, what is their, I always, when I'm talking to my agent, I always want to know, what is their emotional IQ, where are they at emotionally, because they're dealing with not only the thing of competing, they got to worry about their health, but then they dealing with stuff at home, they dealing with a whole lot of, and they got social media now. I mean, it's so much more that, so it requires a coach to spend a lot more time doing things that our coaches never had to worry about. They never had to worry about our mental, other than the fact that, I mean, hell, I remember the times that you didn't take water breaks. It's like it was frowned upon to drink a lot of
Yeah,
water.
water for the week.
Yeah, and so, so now to see that things are changing, and now that these kids are becoming more educated and they know what they expect, and so even now with the whole NIL stuff, I mean, the only thing I'm concerned about is that, now that they're paying them, they're alleviating some of the risk that they're taking, because they got to sign certain things to say, hey, you know that this comes along with whatever. But I think the fact that we're educating them more, and you have coaches out there like Alex and John and guys and James, who can go out here and be an advocate for them. I think that's a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, so I'll piggyback on that a little bit. Some of the things that I've experienced, and some of the things that I do to change it. I think, like you said, CTE can't be diagnosed while you're alive, but the concussion, we do understand the effects of concussions on the brain. Like we've always understood it, more so from car wrecks, right? And playing football is really like being in a car wreck every day. If you really break it down, Alex, the reason I said water for the week, I played for Coach Roach. Coach Roach was my coach, so everything that y'all did at Glen Oaks, we kind of brought over there. But some of the things that I think about, like what I did with my own kids, right? There was a certain age I think kids should be allowed to play tackle football. And then you got to understand, like there's giftings. When you're a kid, there's no lifting weights to strengthen yourself, to get bigger, to get faster, right? Some kids are already God gifted in that area. There's some kids that are already muscular at 8, 9, and 10 that are bigger, faster, and stronger. And some kids, what what I say, what the term I use is civilians. There's some civilians playing football, and there's some football players playing football. And you got to be careful when, like I tell my staff, if we're doing a drill, make sure it's a football player going against a football player and not a civilian that's just on the team, that just wants to play football, who does not have the physique, the knowledge, or the skill set, or the size, or any of that. Like you cannot allow those kids to go against each other, right? You can't allow a senior 18 to be in a tackling drill with a freshman that's 14 years old. Like you're not protecting that kid. So I think a big part of it is also, like I said, the ages and the stages determine when should you allow your kid to play tackle football. And it's not just the age, but it's also that kid's body. It's also his development. It also is the team that he's going to play with, their coaching. And then I'll take it another level. When I coach running backs, I take pride in, I have a count sheet. So I have my own system that I developed by just studying the game and playing the game. One, you're talking about injury. Two, you're talking about fumbling the football, right? So to me, those two things come together as reps increase, right? If a running back has more than 4 carries in a row, he's gonna be fatigued. When you're fatigued, you react slower. You're less likely to be able to protect yourself from injury. That's when injury happen. That's also when fumbles happen. So I always document it, knowing how many carries my kid, how many times he's touched the ball consistently. And I have a 4 count that once he had it 4 times in a row, he comes out. I take him out of the game. Um, and that's for injuries, and that's for fumbles. Um, Another thing that I manage is reps at practice. I chart, how many reps you have at practice during the week. I chart how many reps you have in the game. So I can manage your workload as well, and that manages your recovery as well. And all of those things help with the injury prevention. I monitor big hits. If my running back if Spears get a clean shot on my kid, and like it's like boxing, right? If you when they say, "Oh, he's hurt," he didn't necessarily go down, but they're saying he took a clean shot. So why is that any different in football? If a kid gets a clean shot on you in football and you see that it was a clean hit, you have to know that there's some effects to that kid. He's not 100%. He may not be 50%, he may not be 70%, but he's not 100%. I believe in having my kids that touch the ball at 100%, especially if it's at the running back position, because he can get the ball the next play, or he have to step up and take on a blitz the next play. So now if he's down to 90%, the next hit, he's down to 80. And then once that fatigue level goes to a certain level, it's hard to recover during that game. So those are some of the strategies that I use when I'm coaching the running back position to and these are my own strategies that I developed just through studying the game and playing the position as well, to help to protect my kids from injury and also from fumbles.
That's
All right.
amazing.
So you had spoke about like what age, like what age do you think that kids should start playing tackle football? I know when my kids started, I think it was like in the third grade. Once you got to the third grade, they started playing tackling football. And there has been research that shows that kids should not be playing tackling football until they're at least 12. What is your age recommendation?
Spears, you want to go or you want me to?
No, go ahead, John. Yeah.
For me and my kids, I think I allowed them to start playing at 10. And again, I think it's the introduction of the game and how you play. I don't think anybody at the age of 8 or 10 should be playing the entire game as relates to competing to go out and win football games. I think at the age of 8 and 10, you should start being taught on how to play the game. Because if you roll out there at 12, you've never had pads, you've never done anything, you're putting yourself at another risk because now the game is a little faster. So I do think at 8 and 10 that the game should be introduced to the kids, the safety and how you play the positions, but it shouldn't be just combat tackling every day, but more so teaching on how to play the game in a safe way. And then they can go out in the game and play on Saturdays and everything. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, you got to gauge on who your kid is, right? Like my kids are D1 offsprings. Like my daddy played, my family played. My kids are athletes. I knew that at an early age. But it's not a sport that you just let a civilian say, "Oh, well, I want my kid to be a part of something that has no earthly idea how to play the game or any really desire." That's not the sport that you just go. It's not soccer, right? You don't just go drop your kid off and he's just standing around looking for butterflies. He can get hurt. So I think like the 8 to 10 age, but also gauging who your kid is and having a real conversation, with yourself, and parents being real with who their child is.
I think as parents, I agree with everything John said. I agree. I think as parents, we need to introduce our kids to sports as early as we can. My assistant, she has her baby in here right now. Baby's 2 years old, and we're talking about, so, okay, 2, we're gonna be playing soccer next year. Be ready to start doing some things. One, it gets them used to athletics. It gets them used to the camaraderie. And hopefully they find that love for it. And you don't have to pigeonhole your kid into one sport, at a certain age. I don't think you should do that. Just football, just basketball, just baseball. I think we should introduce them to sports, athletics, tennis, everything. Introduce them as much as we can, especially, kids with color. I think we need to introduce our kids to as many opportunities as possible, because we don't know what's going to be the best mode for them or what's going to be the journey for them. So the earlier that we can introduce kids to athletics, the better. In terms of football, when it comes to tackle football, I think I always listen to the Manning story, the Peyton and the Eli Manning. They didn't play tackle football until middle school. Now back then, of course, you could probably get away with that. Now you have to be a little bit more aggressive when you're learning about tackle football and things like that. But Manny, he had those guys in football playing flag football, a non-touch, but they knew the sport. They were able to learn the sport before they got into the actual physical part of it. Here on in our district, of course, our kids start playing in the 7th grade. Um, and what I've done here in Duncanville is I've been blessed to be able to hire full-time athletic trainers on the middle school level. So when my kids come in, I got a 7th grade A team, B team. I got an athletic trainer that's right there monitoring, there for the injuries and injury prevention and all those different things. Also, we are very mindful in these coaches. We try to teach these coaches on the proper ways to hit. We try to teach these coaches on one how to recognize concussions. It's a strong initiative on teaching coaches the proper way to tackle. Head up, shoulders down, not hitting with the crown of your head, not spearing, not leading with the head. These are the things that's being taught, are intentionally being taught to coaches and whatnot on the high school level. Now, unfortunately, I believe that those Pop Warner coaches, those Breck and Baton Rouge, those Pop Warner coaches need to be taught. They need to go through some type of training before they're allowed to coach. I don't think you just need to get any geek off the street to say, "Oh, I play football. I can coach a kid. I can teach a kid how to tackle." I think we need to get away from that if we're really talking about protecting kids and really talking about protecting youth on the 8, 9, 10-year-old level. I think a coach needs to be that knows how to tackle, that's going through some type of training course or training process. I think those are the coaches that should be the people that's teaching these young athletes the proper ways on tackling, especially when it comes in terms of football.
And Alex and James, I mean, John, man, you guys are, right on with that, man. I mean, for me, I didn't start playing football till, I don't know what age, I think I started in like 6th grades, 5th or 6th grade. So, but like John, I came from a family of a lot of Division I athletes. My older cousin, Ruffin Hamilton, went to Tulane, and I followed behind him, when he left Northeast and went, and then a lot of Trendon Holiday, my little cousin, and we all follow each other. And so it's like, but I think the thing too is like, and I have a son. My son is he ended up playing basketball mostly, but I started him in soccer at like 2 years old. He did T-ball, he did, but he never played football, because he like John said, he was a great basketball player, but he wasn't dialed in enough. He wasn't a football player. He would have been a civilian out there, and so, and it's like, and I would tell him all the time, man, if you're not dialed in into this game, then you can go out there and get yourself hurt, no matter how good of an athlete you are, and so, because it's like John said, it's a difference, whenever we're going through drills, I don't want to go against somebody who I'm not going to get better with. So I don't want to go against a civilian. I don't want, I want to go against somebody who I want to go 1 against 1, and so, and that's the thing. I think now, as the game goes on, I mean, some of the stuff Alec was talking about, we didn't have no full-time trainer in no middle school. I mean, you just had some little dude that came out there and was working and was happy to get out of class early, and so, so now I think, as the game changes, you start to see more and more resources go into it. But definitely, some of these, definitely a lot of these Pee Wee coaches need to be taught, the proper way to do this. I mean, because like I said, I played for a guy named, Grover Perkins, man. And he taught me how to hit with my face mask. And that's probably why a lot of the problems I had with, but it was an equipment issue more so than a technique issue. And so, but I learned that you see what you hit, you bow your neck up, and you see, and which now is harder. You start looking at the NFL game, how many times you watch the game and you be like, man, how he gonna throw a flag on target? He cannot change that direction that fast. The game is so fast, it's like you can't, there's no way. I mean, if I'm running at John, he's running a 4-4. Here I am running a 4-5, 4-6, and we, it's like, and I got to decide at the last minute I'm going to move my head, but then he moves his head, and then now so is as much as they try to protect the game, I think a lot of times they're making it more unsafe, because any on here will tell you that I would much rather get hit in my head than to get hit in my knees or to get hit below the, you know, because that's where more injuries are going to come from that, you know. And so, but I think, you know, with the equipment issues and the you know, the coaching now, it'll start to get better.
So like you guys have like covered so much, but one thing that we haven't talked about are the parents and their role in preventing their kids and the role that they play in instructing their kids and noticing those signs of depression, anxiety, those different types of things. I know when my kids would play, I don't know if I saw this on a movie. I think it was probably a movie. And like I would tell my boys, I was like, okay, are you hurt or are you injured? Like, I need you to go back out there. Like, I didn't want to be that mom who coddled my sons. And it's like, I need you to go back on that field and go play. But they could have really been hurt. So how do you, because everyone wants their kid to be the superstar. Everybody wants their kid to be the superstar. How do you guys handle parents when it comes to that return to play protocol?
I'll go. For me, and I'm with you. I think that was a program, one of my favorite movies, and that's a real deal, hurt or injured, right? Because you're gonna be hurt playing football. The game is designed like that's why we play the game too. We're trying to hurt the other player, but we're not trying to injure the other player. So when we're talking about hurt, like that's a muscle, right? That's like because I got hit in my arm or I got hit in my leg or somebody landed on me. Like it all hurts. You're hurt every play. You know, so that's where the fine line is. So with my kids, and the same thing I'm implementing here is understand if the trainer has to come on the field to get you, you're done. If you cannot physically get up and come to the sideline and shake it off, then I'm just letting you know you're done. So because I hate, I, I hate to see kids, right? Trainer come out there, Alex go out there to get him, and then 2 plays later he back in the game. It's like, dude, like what was all that for? Like you was just hurt, and then you got some kids do it like 3, 4 times in the game, and then the trainer is like, you know, it's almost the kid that cried wolf. It's like, come on, like is he hurt? Really? Not, like no one believes that you're hurt at that point. But there is that fine line of understanding, you know, what hurt and what an injury looks like, and I think that's where you as a parent and coaches have to be able to identify, you know, what was it, what is it. But if a kid is injured, that's when we're talking a shoulder, you know, something is out, shoulder, knee, ankle, right? Not he got hit in his chest or he fell on the ball and the wind got knocked out of him, you know. So there's different instances of where it needs to be diagnosed, and the parents need to understand and the coaches need to understand what that looks like and be able to make a sound decision and safety and what's best for the kid.
Well, we do, and you know, John said a lot right there, and everything he said is correct. I hate to see the athlete that's gonna go down and lay down and roll all on the ground, and you know the ones that's hurt, you know the ones that's gonna play that role. Big difference between hurt and injured. I know when y'all go like to the emergency room, you go to the doctor and you see that scale from 1 to 10. On the scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst pain that you've ever felt in life, how would you rank this? I ask that question on every athlete I come across. 1, can you get up? Can you play? What's hurting? Right? And with the younger the athletes, they haven't been hurt before, so they don't know what the limitations are. They don't realize that this is just a little hurt. This is something I need to work through. I can play through this, or when it's serious. And I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10, it's something that they can play through. They can go back to the field and they can just kind of work through it. You know when it's that serious injury. You know when it's a scream that they let out. They're like, okay, that's serious. Okay, that's an ACL. Okay, we got a fracture right here. And then, as an athletic trainer, you're going to see that when I'm coming in, I'm already doing what we call a cursory exam. I'm already surveying the scene. I'm looking at your bone. I'm looking at how it's structured, just all these different things before I even lay hands on you. And when I finally get down and I start touching and palpating, then I'm able to get a good assessment either on the field whether you're going to be able to return the play or not. But as far as like playing through injuries or whatnot, I'll be honest. And it's probably most athletic trainers might not agree with me, but if you can play, go play. I want you to play. If we've determined that this is nothing broken, is nothing, seriously sprained or strained, and you can go play through this, go play through this because um, I want you to be able to play through that adversity. And sometimes, like John said, you're never going to be 100%. I have no athletes out there right now that's not hurting. Something ain't hurting. That's why I got these ice machines and ice bags. After practice, we go and put some ice on that joker. You go home and we have a good day. But for right now, if you can play through, go ahead and play through because that helps with the mental toughness aspect. Sometimes you're gonna have to do some things that you don't think you're able to do, right? And so an athlete needs to know that they can come through adversity. I didn't think I could walk on this ankle. I didn't think I was going to be able to play on this knee. I thought it was hurt worse than what it was, and I didn't think I was going to be able to go. So we as athletic trainers, we're there to kind of support and get them through that. No, you can play on this, or no, you shouldn't be playing on this. But we're the gatekeepers to kind of put an athlete back out on the field or pull them off and say, nah, either you need to sit down or you should be able to go back and return the play.
And when you've been around a kid long enough, the ones that if he come to you and say, "Hey, coach, man, something's wrong," then because his and all his actions that he's never done that before, and it's like my whole thing was I'm going to hide my injury. I mean, until it's to the point where I'm like, man, I can't. I remember we were playing against Baker High School one time, and I got elbowed in the hip, and I had a hip pointer, and and I played through probably 3 or 4 series. Yeah, hip pointer, yeah, and play for 3 or 4 series after that. But the more you go to the sideline and you sit up, that thing starts to stiffen up. And then I tried to run him like, Coach, I can't do it, And then he was like, shoot, he must be hurt because he ain't never done this before, And so it's like, so the ones that actually gonna, But I think for parents that what parents need to understand is that because I get parents all the time, and I'm sure y'all get it too, man. I mean, how can I get my kid to LSU? How can I get him to play for Duncanville? Duncanville got the quarterback at Bama now. That's the #1 guy. And, those kids are special. Those kids are superheroes. And and sometimes they don't like to hear this, but I'm like, look, if your kid is not a superhero on the field on Fridays, then he's probably not going to be able to go to Alabama or LSU or Florida or a lot of these other schools because you have to be a man amongst boys, And so in order to do that, a lot of the times you're going to recognize as a parent, you're going to recognize that he's putting in that work. He's working, not just doing practice. He's asking me to go work out. He's asking me to get him a gym membership, He's taking care of his body. He's eating right. He's going to class. He's not getting in trouble. I mean, all that stuff builds into the whole, and that's what, as parents, that we need to be able to recognize that, okay, if he's showing these signs of doing something great, then we need to support him, but support him in a way that you're not getting involved with the coaches. Why my kid ain't playing? I'm sure Alec hear that all the time, why my son ain't starting? Well, what is your kid not doing what he's supposed to be doing, and so I think, as he moves forward, parents just need to really, really watch their kids and understand that, hey, if they're showing signs that they want to be great, they're going to do it. My parents never saw me play. My dad never saw me play a day in my life. My mom saw me play maybe one time, but I wanted it so bad enough. I didn't care. It didn't matter. I'm like, I'm going to find a way to make it work if I want to make it work.
So how can you tell the difference between someone so we're talking about with parents, actually knowing if your kid is an athlete or are they just a civilian, as you guys?
That's a tough conversation to have, um, with parents, and hopefully they have someone in their life that really gets it, that really understands it. But it's really from a protection perspective. We have a responsibility to protect these kids. So, there's some kids that if you're not um very athletic, this is a sport where you can get injured, where you can get hurt. So, you know, uh, like the whole everybody gets to play, like everybody can't play because that's not safe for everybody to be out there on that field. And I get everybody can be a part of it, and I'll have that conversation with the parents. They can be a part of the team. They can go through the drills. They can practice, but I can't put a kid out there in a team setting if it's not safe for him to where he can really get injured.
All right. So I do appreciate y'all. I know that we are supposed to end at 11 o'clock. And so if there is anything that, you guys that want to kind of close out and talk about just when it comes to CTE, concussion, sports injuries, how do you want to close out? If there's anything that you can change in the game now, what would you change when it comes to sports injuries?
First of all, I want to thank you for putting this together, and getting a lot of good brothers together, and now we got a relationship that we can always bounce off of. But I think the thing that I would want to say is that, and John and Alec can probably test to this, is like, you never think you're going to be the one. You never think you're going to be the one that's going to get hurt. It's always somebody else. It's always, so. But also at the same time, your mindset has to be that you're just going to go play. I never worried about getting hurt. I never worried about, as much as we talk about it, and it's probably not popular to say this, but I think they talk about CTE so much that it's really starting to scare kids. And then they starting to, any little thing that happens, they start to point it out. And it's like, and Alex probably like, man, ain't nothing wrong with you. Go on, go ahead and do what you got to do, so it's like, just stay dialed in, and if you get hurt, we got people around that can recognize that, okay, yeah, you are having symptoms, you are having things, but at the end of the day, just go play, just go have fun, and I think a lot of times I stayed away from a lot of injuries because I learned the rules of the game. I wasn't going to stand around the huddle, stand around the pile. If you're not on the tackle, then you need to get away from because them linemen are going to come in and take you out. They're going to blindside you, so you learn different rules to protect yourself, and so that's what I would tell any young kid is just learn, just put in the time and effort and ball.
I wanted to share one thing with John. I found this picture, if y'all can get it in there. Sister Iran the Simon. It ain't coming up good, but
that's what's up.
That's my classmate, my sister too, man. I love her, man. Tell her I said what's up next time you holler at her.
I would definitely do that. I would
definitely
do that
for me. Do that for me. I think parents need to be real. I try to be honest with parents as far as with playing or whatnot. If you got a dog and unfortunately, not gonna say unfortunately, the reality of it here is when you get to a level like what we're doing here at Duncanville, the type of athletes that we have here at Duncanville, it's an expectation. And we make sure that we're upfront with these parents about the expectation, and we invite them to practice. Come on, mama, you think you ought to play? Look at practice. Look at your son. And look at your son. The way we kind of separate them is we have these helmets, got the red helmets and the blue and the white helmets and whatnot. Our varsity blue helmets, our sub-varsity red helmets, right? We want to make sure that the red helmets and the blue helmets, we want to build that red helmet enough until they can go up against that blue helmet. Those ninth graders, we completely separate them and put them on a whole nother field. Unless, and once every 2 or 3 years, you get the thing, you get the term that we call a dog.
Right.
And when you get a dog in, the last, I got a couple of them up here right now, but one that's perfect example is a kid that we just graduated, Decorian Moore. Decorian Moore is he's a freshman at Oregon. Decorian was the #1 receiver in the country, a 4.2 speed, track kid, just an all-out athlete. But he's one of those rare athletes that okay, he's gonna play on Sundays. And I've been at Duncanville 20 years, and I've only seen maybe 4 or 5 Decorian Moores come through Duncanville. A kid like that is okay. He's gonna play on Sundays, and you know that when you see him. And then you have those other kids. The citizens, like John said. Those kids, they need some work. And they got to be serious about that work. I can't say a citizen can't become a dog because I've seen that. I've seen a regular kid turn himself into a dog, but that comes through hard work, dedication, diet. Everybody has to be dialed in. You got to be a gym rat. You got to be in that weight room. And genetics gonna play a little bit of that too. You're gonna have to go ahead and grow up a little bit. You're gonna have to go from 5'7", 5'8" to like 6'1", 6'2". That helps. That definitely helps. But it's possible to become that dog, but it's gonna take that work. And not all kids are willing to work like that. And we as coaches have to be upfront and honest with the parent. Hey, look, I don't think he got it in him. I think he needs to work a little bit harder. I think he needs to spend a little more time in the weight room. I think he needs to spend a little bit more time studying film and doing these different things. If he wants to become great, these are the things he has to do. We try to be honest and give a kid a blueprint of what they need to do to become great. And then we just try to model greatness around them. With the other kids that we have coming through, we just try to model that for them, and hopefully they can, pick it up and move on with it. But some can, some can't. But that's the reality of this life we live. We have some kids that are able, and we have some kids that aren't.
For me, I think that was really good, Alex. For me, I think the future is taking retired NFL guys or retired coaches, right? And helping them to develop into these nonprofits to where they're coaching these little league organizations. So, because right now it's hard, right? Because as a man in your 40s and 50s, you got to feed your family. But if you're coaching little league, a lot of times the guys that are in that community, that are just passionate about helping the community, you got to you commend them for that. But a lot of times it's not someone that's really knowledgeable about the game, knowledgeable about protecting the kids and the sport and developing at a high level. I think the future, when they're talking about this safety and investing into the CTE and concussion protocols, is how do we develop these nonprofits to where there is some funding for a coach to motivate a coach to say, okay, you can make a decent living if you're coaching a little league organization, right? If you're coaching a little league team, to where it may not be paying a huge salary, but it's paying a $40,000 salary. Right now, you may get some more qualified people that are willing to go out there and invest the time, because it is a huge time commitment for this sport, for this game. So that's the one thing that I would like to see possibly implemented, somewhere in the future, even if it was through the NFL or whatever, to where it's a nonprofit that the head coaches on these little league organizations are actually getting paid, and then you will see a different quality of coach. And there's a little commissioner for the league or somebody that can kind of evaluate and make sure that they're safe and make sure these coaches are doing what they're supposed to do as relates to these kids. But I have to go. My time is up. I really, really, I'm thankful for the opportunity to share and break bread with you, brothers. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to doing this again.
All right, John. Thank you so much for
All
coming
right.
in, and I can't wait to see what Huntington is going to do this year.
Yeah, give us a couple of years. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, James, you want to close out?
Sure.
So how? Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So just like with everything that we talked about, just closing out, what are some of the things that you think that, like, from a psychological perspective, can parents, coaches, and athletes do to kind of improve the game when it comes to sports injuries?
Well, first and foremost, pay attention to the mood of the kids, their disposition. Check in with them. Check them how they feeling. Ask them how they feeling about the game, how they improving, where they areas they think they can improve, where areas they think they are, they can get some improvement from. Just check in with them, communicate with them as well. Love on them. If you show a kid that you truly love them and you care about them, they'll go out there and bust their butt. And also, um, when it comes to the mental aspect, playing this game is very, very, just this game and any game, any kind of competitive sport, it has a adverse effect on the child's mental. So continue to encourage them, engage the parents, and then as a whole, collective as a whole, as a coach, a parent, and a child, work together and communicate amongst each other, and ultimately keep your child safe. If they feeling some type of way, send them to the doctor.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys. Thank you again. Thank you, all of y'all. This has been an incredible conversation. Um, thank you for just participating in this. Maybe we could do this again some other time next year. Same time, same place, same topic, but a little bit more participation, uh, more community participation. But I do appreciate you guys. There was so much that we covered. So I look forward to seeing what you do this year too, Alec. I did not know that you was part of such a beast of a team. Candace ended up telling me, Alec would be great for this. And I was like, okay. But I didn't realize like what a beast of a system Duncanville was. So I'm glad that you were able to hop on and be a part of this. So Markeith, again, last minute, thank you for helping come in and share your stories. Is very powerful. So I really do appreciate that hopping on. And James, same with you. Just thank you. So James, just for all other different types of reasons, he's a mentor to my boys. So I appreciate everything that he does. All right, thank you guys. Until next time.
All right, have a good one.
All right, y'all have a good one. Peace, guys.
All right, it's a pleasure. Thank y'all.